Hi, welcome to this video session. In this video, we'll be mainly focusing on how to debug a C code using CodeBlocks IDE. So as an outcome for this session, it's been planned that after students watch this video, the students will be able to debug C code. Quickly see like what we mean by debugging. We'll see from some fundamental concepts about debugging and what are the terminologies within it, and then we'll be seeing an actual live hands-on demo wherein with the help of a small use case we'll write a code and we'll try to debug that code by using the debugging feature provided in a CodeBlocks. So as far as debugging is considered, what exactly is a debugging? And what Wikipedia says is debugging is the process of finding and resolving defects or problems within a computer program. And why it is important concept which goes is like say breakpoints, and then we have some concepts wherein we try to execute a program line by line, and then we have two more concepts which we call them as step into and step out. At the same time, while debugging, every developer is always interested in knowing what is the real time and runtime value which was assumed by the variables in my program. So in order to explore such variables, we always prefer using a debugging windows which are provided by the CodeBlocks IDE. So we'll move on the next slide where we'll be looking into a concept called as breakpoint. A breakpoint is a core and central to the concept of debugging. And what exactly we mean by breakpoint? See, the breakpoints are nothing but, and what Wikipedia says is a breakpoint is a means of acquiring knowledge about a program during its execution. During the interruption, the programmer inspects the test environment, and generally when we say the developer is expecting the test environment, what he is more interested in knowing the what are the values of registers, memory logs, files, and even the variables which have been used in the code at that moment of execution. So exact purpose of a breakpoint is to find whether the program is functioning as expected or not when the breakpoint itself pauses the program. So in short, breakpoints are nothing but they are like a points in a code or the instructions in a code where we expect the execution of a program to stop and the state of program is exposed to developer. And when I say state of a state of a program can include the variables, registers, memories, the runtime values, which functions have been called, what was earlier function called, and when does function complete. There are various parameters associated with a breakpoint and a debugging session. But as far as this session is considered, we'll only stick to a process where we need to know how to explore the values of a variables dynamically in a program when a program is executing, that too specifically by using a breakpoints and a debugger available in a CodeBlocks. So a common use of breakpoint is to make sure that program just pauses before running a program, just an instruction. For example, let's say I have 5 instructions in my program, and if I insert a breakpoint at line number 5, my program just pauses before the line 5 starts executing. So if I put a breakpoint at line 5, my first 4 lines are executed and my line 5 is waiting for execution, and it will wait for a user's action to execute the line 5. So that's what exactly a breakpoint does. So we have seen what is debugging, what is breakpoints and all that. Let us see in a hands-on session. So in this hands-on session, we will think of a use case and we'll try to write a code for that, and we'll debug the same code. So let us do a hands-on, and as a prerequisite for this hands-on, I expect the audience which is watching the video to have a fundamental knowledge of C programming language, and also they have a stable working installation of CodeBlocks IDE. So let us do a hands-on. So we need to do is we need to open the CodeBlocks IDE. So wherever you have the CodeBlocks installed, let us open that. For example, here in my case it is inside. So I'm just checking here where I have my CodeBlocks IDE installed in a C drive. So I'll open it and I'm opening a CodeBlocks. So what I have here is I have a no setup version of CodeBlocks installed on me. It doesn't require you to install, it's just a download, extract, cut and paste. So this is my CodeBlocks ID which I'm able to open, and I don't have any I have a blank workspace and I don't have a projects within it. So what I'll do is I'll create a project, And the project which we are creating it for console application, and the language which I'm interested is C language, and I'll call this program is searching an array. So what use case we are trying to work on here is that we will declare a small integer array. Make sure that your screen also has a similar settings as you are right now seeing on your screen. Click finish. Yes, it has created a code for me. So let me increase the font. Yes, okay, the font is also fine. Now the use case which we are trying to implement is what I want is I will be declaring an array of integers, and I'll take a number from a user, and what program would do is program would print yes if the user entered number is present in the array which I have declared in my program. If the user entered number is not there in the array which I've declared in a program, then the program should output no. So let us write a program, and once we write our program, we'll try to debug that. So this program also involves a use of loops, wherein I need to iterate through an entire array just to see if the user provided number is present in the array or not. So during iterations, what we do, we execute a loop, and to make sure my program runs fine, I need to be very carefully be looking at the values of the loop variables, where I increment the loop values, and the temporary variables where I'm going to compare and store the result if the number is found or not. So let us write the program one by one. We'll retain this. Okay, let us do one thing. We'll remove this printf line, and we'll retain the mains boilerplate template here. So as far as the program use case is considered, the program is to see if a user entered number is present in an array or not. Okay, so that was my comment which describes my program here. Then I'll declare a variable key is equal to 0. So in this variable I'm going to store the user entered value. So this program is to store user entered value. So you can just interpret my typos. And now here I'll declare an integer array. So I'll call integer int underscore array, and I'll declare and initialize this array here itself, and I want to initialize the array with few numbers. For example, I initialize 12, 15, 18, 19 and 20. So my array has a 5 numbers. Let me comment here. It's the array within which the number is searched. Okay, so I have it. Now I want to see if the okay, so I have declared two variables. Now I'm gonna scan a variable from a user into the key. So before that I'll put a printf statement, and I'll say here enter a value to be searched. Then I'll do a scan operation, and this variable, whatever I'm scanning from a user, I'll be storing it in a variable named key. Okay, so once I read a variable from a user, what remains to be done is to write a loop which will search the entire array if the user entered number is present or not. If the number is present, it will print yes. If the number is not present, it will print no. So let us do one thing. What we need is we need one more indicator, and we'll call it as flag. And initially the flag value will be set 0, and what I would interpret is if flag value is 0, then number not found. If not, if flag value is changed to 1, then number is present. Okay, so let me correct the typos for you. So initially I am saying that number is not found. I am setting the flag value to 0 to indicate number is not found, because before I do a search I cannot tell whether number is present or not. So before I write a loop, I'm making sure that flag is set to 0, and here in this I can write a loop, and I less than, you can guess a number here what I value should be. It should be less than the size of array. What's the size of array? The size of array is 5, and I'm gonna increment I every time to iterate across the entire array. So every time whenever my I is moving from 0 to 4, I have to see if the key element which holds the user entered value is equal to the element at that array traversal location. Int array of I. If it is equal to, I'll set flag is equal to 1. Once I find the number, there is no need for me to iterate the loop once again. So I need not compare. For example, if I find element 12 at the first position, let us assume user has entered 12 as a value for key variable, then I need not search whether user for that presence of 12 in all remaining numbers of that. In the first comparison itself, I will be able to find whether number is present or not. The moment I find it, I should not iterate my loop still to traverse across till the end of array. What I would do is I will break the loop the moment I get the number being found in the array. If it is not, if the number is not found, then I'll just repeat the process. Either you can say continue here, but if you think carefully, we don't even need an else block here, because if would only execute if the elements are found in the array. For example, here just look at this. This block will only execute if a key matches with any of the element in the array. If it doesn't find any such element, in spite of traversing through an entire array, what change you will observe is the flag value still remains 0. The flag value will be only updated if the element is found at any location in the array. So once you are coming out of for loop, by checking at the value of a flag, whether it is 1 or a 0, you should be able to tell whether the element is present or not. So what we'll do is we'll write one more if condition here, wherein we'll check the value of a flag. If flag equal to 1, it means that the element was found somewhere in this loop. So I'll put a printf, and as per the use case description, we are supposed to print yes if the number is found. If not, what we are supposed to do, we need to just print no instead of yes. So I'll call this as no. Fine. So given this program, if I want to say if this program is working or not, let us see it by running them. So I clicked on build, and if I have any array, it would correct me if I have an arrays here. So it is showing an array at line number 8. Let me see what exactly array is talking about. So what array is saying is, for each undeclared identifier, okay, so I have used some other style. The better, I always prefer using this style of array declaration in C. And I have misspelled the printf method, so we are dynamically correcting the program. So now I don't have any errors within this. What I can now go ahead is with the run of this. So I am running this, enter a value to be searched. I'll enter 12. Yes, it's processing because 12 was part of an array. If I rerun this program once again, and if I enter a value which is not present in that array, it will say no. Yes, the program is working. But remember, it is not always feasible to check the output of a program or the working of a program every time by running that program. Sometimes we need to debug that. So if I want to make sure if a flag, or if I want to dynamically see the flag's value is changing from 0 to 1 when an element is found, what we'll do is we'll try to debug that. As far as the debug session is considered, okay, I want to stop my program just before my if block executes, and then execute the next line based on the what are the dynamic values the program variables are assuming. So I want my program to stop at this line and just wait for user action, and during this time it will expose all the current state of variables which are declared in this program. So to do it, so highlight the line which you want, or the place where you want your program to pause, wherein you can explore the values of variables within that program. Right click on this and click on add breakpoint. So now this acts as a breakpoint. Now if I debug this program, so remember here I'm not going to run this program now, but rather I'll debug this by going to the debug menu. And when I click on debug menu, the program starts executing from the entry point, and it executes till it encounters a breakpoint here. When my debugger encounters a breakpoint, my execution pauses, and now I can explore what is the value of key, flag and array. Upon exploring the value, then I can decide what to do next. So what to do next can be determined by few steps within this debug. For example, I can ask my debugger to click on next line to execute the line immediate to the breakpoint, or I can go to step into and step out, so to enter detailed into functions and to come out of functions. So I have set the breakpoint now. Now I'll click on start and continue. So when I click here, so let us see like if the debugger is configured or not. It says that you need to specify a debugger. So you will get this error first time when you are launching your debugger. To make sure your debugger is properly configured to work with CodeBlocks, what you need to, if you get this error, what you are supposed to do is to go to settings here, go to debugger, and after going to debugger, select GDB and CDB, click on default and find the executable path. Right now it is blank, that's why it's throwing the error that program is not found. So what you are doing is click on that and select a file which is named as gdb.exe, and that file you will find in the CodeBlocks installation. In my case, CodeBlocks has been installed on C drive, so I'll click on C drive, CodeBlocks, go to MingW, go to bin, and under bin you will find a program called as gdb32.exe. Select that program and click on open. That path will be set, and you can now click on OK. So now you can debug that. Now if you debug, you won't encounter that errors. Now you can see that my program has been launched, but it is not running in a normal run mode, but rather it is running in a debug mode. It will ask you to open the entire CodeBlocks perspective in a debug mode. Say yes. So by saying yes, what it does is it sometimes it also stores whatever the debug sessions which you are doing. At the same time, it also opens various debug related parameters as well. So now you can see that here you can see that this is where I entered a printf. My printf statement, whatever the output of printf statement, it is appearing on a console, and now it is waiting for me to enter a value of the key variable. So remember, we have not yet reached to this point. My program is waiting for this scanf. So let me enter a value. For example, I have 12, 15 and 19. Now what I'll do is I'll enter a 19. So the value I am entering is 19. Once I enter a 19, now you can see that my execution paused at line number 15. You can see the small yellow colored arrow icon appearing here. It is an indication that my execution paused here. So this line is yet to be executed. So at this moment, now I want to see what are the values, what value the key variable is holding, what value the other flag is holding. I want to check what all they are. So to explore that, what you need to do is click on debug menu, go to debug windows and click on watches. Then it will open a watch window wherein all temporary variables associated with these programs are displayed to you dynamically here. You can see that if my program executes till line number 15, it will create a variable key. Yes, the variable key has been created, and with what value it is holding? 19. Why it is holding 19? Because here I have entered 19 and this 19 value was read by scanf, and it got stored in the variable key here. You can also see that the flag value is 0. So now I want to execute this. What do you think? Will this if loop execute here? If you check this condition, key is equal to 19 and array of I. What is array of I containing? Array of I means array of I is 12. Is 19 equal to 2? No. So now what you will find is this block will not execute this. So this is the state which I have explored. Now I want my program to continue its further execution. In this case, what you need to do is go to debug and click on, will stick to next line to execute my program after after a pause due to a breakpoint. So now you can see that when I place my cursor at this location and if I press F7, you can dynamically see that the value of I is being changed. And you should see that when the I's value reaches to 0, 1, 2, 3, you will see that the key and flag value should automatically change here. So I'm just pressing F7 here. So it is 3. You can see that when I is 3, the key value is 19, and you can see at 3 location it is 19 and flag's value has been changed to 1. So I'll repeat this till I reach to the end of my program. Yes, it's still working. Okay, now the program has come to its execution. You can see the output yes appearing on the console screen. So this is what we call as a debugging in CodeBlocks. So at initially it might be slightly difficult to manage and explore all the watch windows, but more you practice, you'll be becoming more and more comfortable in using these debug points. And as far as other debug menus are concerned, for example, step into and step out, we'll see a one more special video to demonstrate exact working of what is step into and step out. But as of now, you can just start using debuggers by just putting a breakpoints and using a next line execution, thereafter breakpoints. What have we seen in a nutshell? In a nutshell, we have seen what is debugging, when we have seen that breakpoints are very crucial to a debugging concept. And we have assumed a small use case wherein we were supposed to search for an element in a pre-declared array. And we have dynamically set up breakpoint, and we have also explored the variables when programs pause at the breakpoint location with the help of watch window. And we have also seen, like, once we pause at breakpoint, in order to continue next, we always prefer using next line execution in a debug menu, and whose shortcut is F7 just to proceed line by line. So as a quick recall question for you. The question is, does watch window lets you change the value of a variable during debugging session as far as the current video is considered? If you have keenly paid attention to the video, the answer would be like right now in the current setting of CodeBlocks, it doesn't allow us to change the value of a variable unless we use some kind of watch expression which we are yet to see. But as of for this video, the answer is no. So let us move ahead. And as a further reading, I would expect the audience to go through the link and see what exactly a debugging C code in CodeBlocks contains in more depth. And this is the bibliography. So that's it for this video, and thank you.